Hello and welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. The Institute of Energy Security, IES, has reiterated calls for the review of taxes and margins on the price build-up of petroleum products to cushion consumers. Their call is coming at a time some oil marketing companies have started increasing prices of petroleum products at the pumps by 2% for petrol and 2.2% for diesel. Speaking to Joy Business research analyst with IES, Derek Hatcher, stated that policymakers must be proactive in stabilizing prices at the pumps.
We basically do not have any substitute for petroleum products. We can only call on government to look at the taxes and margins in the price build-up. Some of them are about its usefulness. The price stabilization and recovery levy, as the name stated, is supposed to stabilize prices, but we are not seeing any stability of those prices at the pumps. The second one is a special petroleum tax. We are not seeing the relevance of it. It's not accounting for anything. As at the time that they introduced it, prices on the international market were quite low. Now the price on the international market is high, so the government more or less enjoying from windfall prices, and so that is what they are enjoying. So what is the consumer? Do something to lift the burden from them. BoG needs to be efficient. BoG needs to be operational. We are continuing to pay for BoG margins. There's nothing about it that the consumers are getting benefits for. And so for these measures, definitely we can only appeal to policymakers and government to be more effective and proactive to ensure that these prices of the various pumps are a bit stabilized, if not for anything. There is a need for it to be stabilized so that consumers can have some sort of respite.
Meanwhile, minority in parliament say Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia must live up to his responsibility as head of economic management team and stop the skyrocketing prices of fuel. Minority spokesperson on Mines and Energy, John Jinapo, says instead of calling for debates, the Vice President must ensure the cedi is stabilized and fuel prices are reduced.
As you may be aware, the price of a liter of fuel is higher than it used to be for a gallon of fuel. During our time, the gallon of fuel was about 14 cedi. Today, a liter is about 15 point something cedi. The Gold for Oil program, our checks indicate that it's causing serious financial loss to the state. As if that is not enough, the exchange rate is depreciating. As if that is also not enough, fuel prices keep going up. Last week it went up, this week it's gone up. This will certainly impact inflation, it will impact productivity, and it will make the cost of living high. And it's all because of the exchange rate. And so clearly, government has lost it. Government is unable to handle the exchange rate. And I think that the managers of the economy ought to sit up and do what is right and proper. Whilst the Bank of Ghana is spending millions of cedis and dollars on the Gold for Oil program, the currency is not stabilizing. The cedi is depreciating, fuel prices are going up, cost of living is going up, and everybody is suffering. But worst of all, wages and salaries are stagnating. Wages and salaries are not going up. And so, hitherto, under President Mahama, whilst you could buy 2 bags of rice with your minimum wage, today you cannot even buy 1 bag of rice with your minimum wage. The managers of the economy have lost it. And I think that Dr. Bawumia, instead of calling for a debate, he should rather spend some time to concentrate on managing the economy.
The Association of Ghana Industries is asking the Bank of Ghana to review its policy on quoting of forex to cedi when clearing goods from 2 weeks to 90 days. According to President of the AGI, Humphrey Enyimdake, the current exchange rate volatilities and inflationary pressures are grinding some business operations to a halt. He was speaking at the SME Growth and Opportunity Summit organized by the Ministry of Finance. Here's a report.
The Growth and Opportunity Program prioritizes targeted interventions that support the government's goal of creating SME champions that can take Ghanaian products and innovations global. Dr. Enyimdake at the event said AGI will continue to collaborate with key stakeholders to provide mentorship program for SMEs.
SMEs encounter challenges of medium to long-term funding with competitive interest rates that are challenges to capital formation of most entities. Secondly, our capital formation are also impacted by the bi-weekly review of exchange rate at the port of entry via the Bank of Ghana policy on the forex management at the port of entry, which computes into the calculation of the forex for clearing of goods. This has significant impact on our costs. It has inflationary tendencies and has cascading effects on the debt of the economy. It's our prayer that the Bank of Ghana will review this said policy to a 90 days instead of 2 weeks every other week.
Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam stressed the need for a better ecosystem for SMEs to drive growth for the economy.
We have consulted with stakeholders, including the Association of Ghana Industry and civil society, to design selection criteria and financing instruments tailored to meet the needs of high-growth potential SMEs. Additionally, we recognize that financial support alone is insufficient, which is why the program includes comprehensive capacity building programs to upskill both beneficiaries and the wider business landscape.
On this part, President Akufo-Addo said the program will incorporate comprehensive capacity building programs implemented by all three partners.
These are challenges that must be overcome if we are to unlock the full potential of our SMEs. We must adopt a multifaceted approach that involves government, the private sector, and international partners. One of such initiatives is the Growth and Opportunity Program being spearheaded by the Akufo-Addo government.
Under the Growth and Opportunity Program for SMEs, the Ghana Exim Bank will be supported with 700 million Ghana cedis to offer SMEs highly subsidized financial support for both capital and operating expenditures and offer capacity building to program beneficiaries. Meanwhile, the Ghana Enterprise Agency, on the other hand, will be supported with 230 million Ghana cedis and targets high-growth SMEs employing 100 persons or less with small-scale grant and loans of up to 2 years at highly subsidized rate.
Ghana has seen some improvement in the growth of the economy from the impact of COVID-19 and Russia's invasion of Ukraine a few years ago. According to a new country policy and institutional assessment by the World Bank, Sub-Saharan Africa countries are still having challenges dealing with critical factors of economic growth as compared to their Western counterparts. Key among them are the issues of debt management and budget quality. There is more in the following report.
Ghana has witnessed stable performance in the overall score of the World Bank country policy and institutional assessment. Despite challenges with debt controls, there has been an improvement in fiscal policy, which has driven inflation downwards. The country performed high in the areas of fiscal consolidation through several revenue and expenditure measures, according to the report. Sub-Saharan Africa is still facing challenges with financial services and regulation for business growth, a situation hampering small and medium enterprise expansion. World Bank Africa Regional Chief Economist Andrew Dublin has been speaking with Joy Business.
There were aspects of Ghana's economic management that has slipped, particularly around debt management issues, right? Now we are, and that has over time kind of hurt the score, has led to a decline in the score. But I think the country is in the right track. It has improved. It's beginning to do the reforms. As you are aware, it has reached agreement with the official creditor committee with its debt, which we support, and that will lead Ghana towards maintaining fiscal sustainability and be able to have access to markets in the future and overall lead to growth and poverty reduction that the country obviously is interested in. So.
Dublin further raises concerns about election risks in Africa and how that affects investments on the continent.
We talk about elections specifically in Ghana, but in general what we found out in Africa is that elections are usually a period of a lot of uncertainty. They introduce a lot of uncertainty because it's not entirely clear whether there will be contestations in terms of the outcomes, whether there will be protests or conflict. And so what that does is that it leads investors to be a little bit more cautious, so they hold back and not actually commit. So that lowers investments and economic activity in general.
The report captures the impact of structural and policy interventions from January to December 2023.
The Economic, Social and Cultural Council, an organ of the African Union, is calling for the speedy ratification of the Free Movement Protocol under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Osei Chitri, head of programs at the council, urged civil society organizations to advocate for the full approval of the protocol to ensure the continent achieves its dream of free trade. He spoke at a press briefing ahead of the dialogue on AFTA.
The overall mandate of the African Continental Free Trade Area is to create a single continental market with a population of about 1.3 billion people and a combined gross domestic product of approximately $3.4 trillion. Thus, it creates the world's largest free trade area, comprising 55 countries. As part of its mandate, the AFTA is to eliminate trade barriers and boost intra-Africa trade. However, a significant number of member states are yet to ratify the Free Movement Protocol, which promotes unrestricted movement of goods and services amongst member states. Osei Chitri, head of programs at the Economic, Social and Cultural Council, an organ of the African Union, called for speedy ratification of the protocol. He spoke at a press briefing ahead of a dialogue on the role of civil society organizations in accelerating the implementation of the AFTA.
CSOs can absolutely advocate for the ratification and domestication of the Free Movement Protocol because it's a structural component of the single market. And so we can definitely focus on advocating with our member states so that they can sign the Free Movement Protocol. A lot of our member states are already doing some level of free movement anyway, but we want the majority, to sign the document. We need 15 ratifications for the protocol to go into effect. We only have 4.
Omolara Balogun, head of policy influencing and advocacy at the West African Civil Society Institute, called for increased awareness to ensure the full implementation of the Continental Free Trade Agreement.
One of the main challenges that we have seen in the implementation of AFCTFA is that even within the different policy sectors, from government to immigration to customs, there's a lot of knowledge gap. So if you really want to have direct, first-hand experience, just try to take a trip between from Ghana border to Togo to Benin Republic to Nigeria. You see a lot of extortions taking place by supposed, machineries of the state.
The maiden dialogue on the role of civil society organizations in accelerating the implementation of AFTA will be held in partnership with the West African Civil Society Institute and the AFTA Policy Network.
In more business news, the Ghana Revenue Authority has announced that it has exceeded its target of signing on 600 large companies on its e-VAT platform by 40 companies. In May 2024, the Revenue Collection Authority hinted of its intention to bring on board 600 large companies onto the e-VAT system by June of the same year to enhance revenue collection and monitoring. Speaking at a press conference with the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, the board chair of GRA, Joe Gatti, noted that the company is poised to achieve its revenue target for the rest of the year.
The visit to the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church by the Ghana Revenue Authority is to strengthen its partnership with the Methodist Church of Ghana. The Revenue Mobilization Agency, in its bid to achieve its annual target of 149 billion cedis by the end of 2024, partnered with the church to create awareness on tax compliance and engage members of the church to be tax-abiding. Reiterating GRA's intent of achieving its revenue target, Board Chair Joe Gatti noted that GRA exceeded its target of listing over 600 companies on its electronic VAT platform, which aims to enhance collection and monitoring.
VAT is not your money. VAT is government's money. You are an agent for government, collecting money on behalf of government. Studies have shown that if it's digitized, it is easier to monitor and it will increase revenue. In the beginning, it was difficult to let people understand. So they set themselves a target of 600 large companies to be what they call onboarding, which simply means that should be put on a system which is digitized. By the time they were declaring their final results, they have reached 640. They have passed it by 40. We have set them a very high target for the next time. We set another target for 2 months. The board has set them a higher target. I know they will succeed by God's grace.
Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana, urged the general public to abide by the laws of Ghana and contribute their quota to the socio-economic development of the nation.
And I know that from the very beginning, our revered Father John Wesley made sure that the Methodist people complied with state regulations and paid their taxes, never to evade tax, nor to get themselves involved in any vices that would not be in the interest of the nation. And that has been our resolve. What comes from the pulpit, what comes from the church, the teaching from the church is what God requires of them. And as they grow into Christian maturity, payment of taxes is also part of the growth that will come into the individual's life.
The visit to the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church was led by the Commissioner General and the board chair of GRA, flanked by board members, deputy commissioners, and other high-ranking staff of the authority.
Chief Executive Officer of Shelter Afrique, Theano Habib Han, has paid a courtesy call on the Minister of Works and Housing, Kojo Nkrumah. Now, this visit follows Shelter Afrique's transition into the Shelter Afrique Development Bank. According to Theano Habib Han, Ghana's commitment as a shareholder of the bank underscores the government's dedication to Africa's transformation agenda.
Shelter Afrique Development Bank is a leading Pan-African institution focused on funding housing, urban and infrastructure development. During a courtesy call on the Minister of Works and Housing in Accra, the bank's managing director, Theano Habib Han, praised Ghana's commitment to advancing the institution's transformational agenda.
Your active participation was very crucial to get us to take some of the major transformational decisions that the institution had to take. As you know, we came on board last year, January 2023, and since then we have engaged into major transformational reforms. At the last extraordinary general meeting of shareholders in Algiers in October 2023, we had transformation that made this institution become a development bank. Now the AGM you attended last June basically was the first annual general meeting of shareholders since that transformation. So it was a historical moment, and we are very glad that we were able to be there with a strong team from Ghana to witness, right? We're very much putting us in the right direction.
The Minister of Works and Housing, Kojo Nkrumah, expressed optimism about the bank's support for housing projects in the country.
Hospitality and the excellence associated with the 43rd AGM, we were very impressed, especially at the learning opportunities for us. To have an opportunity to learn from some of the other jurisdictions and see how they are advancing in the exercise of financing and technology, all associated with urban development and housing. We were also excited at the opportunity to be elected onto the board. It's a big deal for us. Absolutely. And we, as I mentioned, intend to use our presence on the board to advocate for a deepening of capitalization and deepening of financing programs to support housing schemes across the continent. Thirdly, we are also excited at the opportunity to bring on board our National Home Ownership Fund. I'm sure at tomorrow's technical meetings we can talk more about that. Fantastic. And learning from what you've done in Nigeria, and in other jurisdictions, explore how to strengthen our fund to better serve the Ghanaian market.
The government of Ghana was recognized for leading the establishment of 7 multilateral institutions across the continent, enhancing the country's financial outlook.
This is still Prime Business. As part of its 50th anniversary, the Institute of Public Relations Ghana says it will be focusing on how to educate ethically and effectively during this election period to create values for communities. According to the president of the institute, Esther Koba, there is the need to create awareness about the importance of effective communication to sustain the peace before, during, and after the December general elections. Speaking during a courtesy call paid on the government chair, Esther Koba stated that the institute will educate the public on effective communications devoid of insult and misinformation.
This year, as we celebrate our anniversary, our 50th anniversary, our theme is public relations for value creation. When you work with public relations people, you speak, but what you say is understood better. We create value for individuals. We create value for organizations. We create value for communities. So this year, we are demonstrating to the world, to Ghana, to Africa, to the world, what value we bring. So that is our theme for the year. For the full year of celebration. But this year is an election year. And we want to demonstrate to Ghana that no politician can be elected without them communicating to the people who they want to elect them. There can be no political campaign without communication.
And that's our part company here on Prime Business. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, feel free to log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I leave you with international business.